Alright, so I bought another broken amp. This one's a Laney, what's it called? Pro Tube Lead AOR series, built in 1987. I don't know that much about it other than it's basically a souped up JCM 800. So the guy I bought it from said it had a loud popping sound after it warmed up for a bit. And I figure it's the filter caps because these look like they're the original 87 caps. I haven't looked through the tubes yet, but they look fine. They're kind of just generic Chinese JJ E34Ls for power tubes, which I'll probably keep. I like E34Ls thicker. So I was just kind of poking through here, and I found this one wire here just was cold soldered in, just barely touching, so maybe that's the real problem. That would be cool. I'm going to order all the big cap cans because those are the originals, and somebody went through and repaired something. Looks like the old 1K 5 watt was trying to burn out the board, and it may have lifted the traces because, as you can see, it's wired all kind of funny here. And underneath I can see where it's missing some traces at this end and at that end. So I don't know if that got too hot at one time and someone fixed it, and then also installed new bias filter caps here. But then I notice, I think this is for the last preamp stage. That's its cathode bias cap. And then this one here is a 47, and I'm pretty sure that's way too big and going to be real bassy and probably muddy. But these ones, they just kind of like soldered onto the old wire that was sticking there. They didn't even take it out and do it right like they did over here. I don't know why. But I'm going to see if I can get it back to stock, see how it sounds, and then possibly mod it from there. We'll see what happens. It should be cool. Alright, so I've done a couple of things to get it ready to crank up at band practice tomorrow, regardless of the old caps. I resoldered that loose wire that had the cold solder on it. I installed some bias sensing resistors so I can check what the actual bias is on each tube. I moved the input grid resistor from the actual input jack to the pin that it belongs on the grid. It should do a better job of cutting out some top end hiss or whatever it does, something like that. It should have a better chance of actually doing that closer to the tube socket than way back here on the input jack. Let's see. I didn't change anything on the board itself. It looks to be stock. This 47 microfarad bias capacitor for the first stage is going to make it fat, along with this 0.1 microfarad coupling capacitor, which by the schematic that I'm looking at, which is not for this exact amp, it is supposed to be a .022, just like a Marshall or whatever. But this particular model, I don't know exactly, but it was like possibly an in-between model when they were switching from calling them Pro Tube leads to Pro Tube AOR, and they changed the name of one of the channels to AOR. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but we'll see how it sounds. If it's too fat and flubby, I'm just gonna change it to what's on this schematic and what you would find in, well, I think a normal Laney or Marshall type amp. I don't know. It might sound awesome though. I don't know. Might not want to fuck with it. Oh yeah. So the board was held on by these little plastic standoffs with the little pin that you kind of press, and one of them was just not holding the board on its edge, and they sucked. So I replaced them with some of these aluminum standoffs and some screws. So I still got to tighten it up on the back, but now that's solid. That's in there. That's better than it ever was. So there's an improvement. I cleaned up all the pots and the jacks. It should be good. I set the bias. I checked it out. It biases. It has enough range to handle the E34Ls. Hopefully I can give you a sound demo tomorrow. Take it easy.